Saket, every time when we go for a product owner interview, there is a confusion between product owner role and its responsibilities. So I just want to know how do we answer that question? Because when we come to a Scrum Master, we know what type of responsibilities we have in a day-to-day life. So how do we summarize that for a product owner?
Perfect. And I would say this is a difficult question because of the one primary reason, the way product owner role is defined in Scrum and the way the product owner role is implemented in many organizations, or many times when they are recruiting, what they expect from you might be different. uh, Relatively, Scrum Master role is, I would say relatively, is still more or less at least covers the part, the whatever is explained in a Scrum guide in the organization. It usually involves more things than Scrum Master role when you look for a job title called Scrum Master rather than a role of a Scrum. Whereas a product owner, there could be reverse. So the way things has been explained in Scrum guide, where it talks about overall visioning, overall directions, and kind of a CEO of the product. Now, in the many organization, I'm not saying all organization, many organization, that is what not they expect from product owner. They may expect part of that role. So I would say it is difficult to generically reply that. What I would prefer is that if you are looking for a product owner kind of role, you need to explain what you have been doing before. Now, many times you find the product owners are more a development oriented product people, so they, rather than they know the requirement, they represents the customer requirements to the development team. So in a way, it's not like someone who is thinking on his own and telling this is what we should do in the product, but someone who is facilitating the conversation with the various stakeholders to find out what is the best requirement, what kind of a requirement we need to take forward, and bringing those requirements to the development team. So in general, I talk about the two kind of a product owners. One kind of a product owner is that who is really knowing what the product should be doing. He has a good insight on customer needs. He understands how the selling of this product will be done. He understands how he is going to make partners for this product ecosystem. He's quite aware of the competition who is working on the similar line. And he's the one who tells everything based on his holistic understanding of the product. So that's the one type of product owner. Usually I don't find that kind of a product owner roles in an enterprise. We find a different kind of a product owner role where this person is facilitating interaction amongst the stakeholders who has expertise in these direction. So someone in the stakeholder might be having great insights on competition. Someone might be having great insights on the technological direction of the product. Someone might be having great insights on partner development and distribution of the product. And someone might be knowing how to take this positioning and market segmentation of this particular product. And based on these kind of a stakeholder intelligence, now product owner becomes a great facilitator, which is primarily helping the organization to find out the priorities, the right priorities for a given product. Now he may not know on his own what are those priorities, but he may facilitate those discussions. So the first thing is, I would say the role of a product owner is finding out what are the right requirements, what are the needs, why we are building something, because that's the core dimension or a core focus area of product owner. Sometimes you yourself discover why and what we should develop. Sometimes somebody else is doing it, and you coordinate, you interact, you engage those stakeholders and find out what should we build on. And this information get populated in a product backlog. Now, before you populate the product backlog, you may have a summary level idea of the whole thing, which might be consolidated or populated in the form of a small vision statement. So product owner, either he creates himself or with the help of stakeholders, he facilitates coming up with a vision for the product. So he gets the big picture. Yeah. Like the second type of product owner gets this big picture with the help of collaboration from others. The first type of product owner may give this big picture on his own, but usually you find more second kind of product owner. So you may talk about how you facilitated the team in coming up or understanding the big picture, how you facilitated stakeholders to agree to understand the various aspects of the business and coming up with a big idea. And once that big idea came, then how you facilitate it as a product owner to make these big ideas into a small chunks, so you kind of identified minimum business increments which you should be able to work on. When I say business increment, means somebody a sizable functionality which can go to the customer as soon as it gets done. And then once that is done, you help them in coming up with a vertical slicing of a requirement in the form of features or a user stories. So that's a kind of a customer need. So any question till here? We have few more things to explore. So what we can say, it's a vision, it's finally helping the stakeholders to coming up an agreement, and finally putting all these ideas into a backlog and helping the stakeholders and everybody to see the priorities and value in those backlog.
Yeah, Saket, can we say that as an analogy that Scrum Master facilitates sprint planning and is a bridge between a product owner and the dev team, is a similar way that product owner facilitates and is a bridge between the dev team and stakeholders to get the requirements?
So it's a nice way. It's a nice way to elaborate and understand it. Just maybe you want to be a little careful about using an analogy of a bridge, because sometimes it makes people feel that you can't cross it without this guy. So it's like that, yes, he's a facilitator to discover the requirements and the needs, and he facilitates with the stakeholder as well as with the team. Means he also promotes team member also interacting with the stakeholder whenever the need arises. So it's not like that I should be always in between, but yes, in an understanding sense, it's a perfect analogy. Maybe if you just share it with someone, they can literally take it, so that he becomes a middleman between these two. So it's not a middleman, but yes, it's the whole thing.
Okay, sir. So this brings me to another
so we will talk
question.
few more things. So till here it's okay, like visioning thing and product backlog.
Yes.
This making perfect sense. Now, many times the idea goes extended further. So this was particularly is coming up with the why are we developing something and what we should develop on. So that's the whole thing. Now, as far as the way Scrum looks at it, the product owner is also responsible for projecting how these features will hit the market, and what kind of releases, business launches the team or an organization should be working on. So one is that you are identifying what should we work on. The second is that you also identify which particular component and how do you, like you create releases. So you, with the help of a stakeholders, you identify at what frequency the business releases will go and what will be the content of that release. So this is like, because the product owner is expected to facilitate understanding of the requirement. He's also expected to facilitate delivering of those requirements to the business. So he projects or he facilitates identifying the content of the release. And at the same time, based on the information of the team's progress and team's way of working, he also projects the timelines for those deliveries. Because ultimately the stakeholder wants to know that, okay, when are we going to get this functionality so that we can understand how much money we can make in that particular month based on these functionality. So the product owner is many cases in the organization also plays a responsibility of collecting and sharing and collaborating with the development team as well as with the stakeholders, so they are aware where do we stand from our target to reach to that particular release goal. And if there has to be done something, like if the scope has to be adapted, if the time has to be adapted, he facilitates those discussions. So if it looks like that we need something soon because competitor is launching it, and then we need to find out what can we remove from our release content and how the team's current way of delivering supports that particular timeline. So he's a facilitator to come up with those adjustment and those understanding. So it is not about doing sprint planning. It is more about that having a vision, having a set of things which we need to do in a product, then coming up with a set of visibility when the things will get released, and also continuously working on providing the transparency to the stakeholder by way of engaging them in their sprint reviews, sharing with them some of the reports, some of the information, the way people want to communicate. He may use a multiple type of communication mechanism. So the stakeholders are aware what is happening inside the team, what kind of challenges team is facing, and based on this latest information, projecting when and how we are going to put this content into the market. So he probably uses the sprint review very extensively to achieve this particular goal. Yeah. So this is like a second part. And the third part is continuously working with the development team, explaining them what has to be developed, identifying fine-grained details of the user stories or requirements or the features, whatever we call them, always doing just-in-time information elaboration, so continuously facilitating backlog refinement sessions so that we don't create a lot of stuff in advance. So that part is something on a team level work. So this is like a three broad thing. Sometimes you may also find it easy to classify this responsibility into external oriented responsibility and internal oriented responsibility from a Scrum team point of view. So there will be things which product owner is doing for internally Scrum team, and there are things which the product owner is doing for the from external to the Scrum team, which is more to do with the stakeholders, releases, business, and forecasting. So this is kind of a role it is. Now you need to find out what you have played and what you aspire to play, and then pick up the elements from these things. You may not be doing all the things. And when you don't do all the things, then you have a clarity on who is doing which part of thing and how you facilitate discussion so that that information come to your development team, and overall it fits into the vision of the product. So more or less this, yeah.